Hello, 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 everyone. Welcome to another episode of Sree's daily global COVID-19 show. This is your chance to have a global conversation around topics dealing with COVID-19, but we don't always approach it from the way that you might think. This is not a news show, it's a conversation, and we find all kinds of angles to talk about. Tonight, we have a very special show for you. We're going to be talking about the escapist cinema of South Asia. How is that for something that's an intriguing title? That's what you want if you're going to put together a global show. And you're going to meet three fabulous folks. You're going to meet Pia Shah, Jitin, Hingorani, and Lucius Barre. Please stay tuned as we bring them on in just a couple of minutes. This is your chance to hit retweet, hit share, tag your friends, find them all over the internet, and tag them right now. We're live on Facebook, on Twitter, on YouTube, and on LinkedIn. You can be on all those platforms with me or just the one you're on right now. But you must tag your friends because they're going to learn some fun and useful information about various aspects of life today. We are also going to give you a chance to ask questions and hear how you're feeling and what is on your mind as we go forward today as well. This is episode 65 of the show. 65 days we've been on lockdown in New York, and this is episode 65. So we've been going every single day, and we've only been able to do it because of your interest, your love, and your support of the show. I'm so grateful. So many of you have said that this is an uplifting show. Several of you have said this is a lifeline through this crisis, and I can tell you it's a lifeline for me. And it's a uplifting moment for me when I'm doing this with you. We're going to be going for about an hour, and please bring your friends to join us on this ride. We do this every single day, different times, but the important thing is that we're together and thinking about not just what's happening now, but how we go forward. And it's Friday night in New York, so this is a time when many of us will be out on the town, going out to a movie, and that's why we thought this would be a perfect topic to talk about film festivals, and this film festival in particular that you're going to hear about. But before that, we have to pay some bills. So first, let's thank our sponsors, and we want to thank the SohnSocialMediaSolutions.com, our friends at Sohn Social Media Solutions, SOHN, and the Survive with Live Video Bootcamp. Starting June 1st, launch your own consistent live streamed show in just 8 weeks. Learn how to get and keep your message out there, building relationships with your customers and potential customers during a time when it's most needed. Learn to get past the fear of going on camera, what to talk about with your lives, and tech, how to promote your videos and actually launch your show in a supportive community of professionals. Sign up today. And we want to thank Tim Sohn. He was the very first sponsor of this show, and now he's doing another ad with us, and we are very, very to Tim for doing that. So everyone watching right now, tell us where you're watching from. We want to connect with you. We want to hear where you're watching from and what you're thinking about at this moment. This is, I said, the second time that Tim has sponsored us, and the very first time was the very first ad dollars we got for this show. You never forget your first professional money you get in any specific setting. That's what Bruce Springsteen remembers, the first $15 somebody paid him to play music. We're not comparing ourselves to the boss, but that same idea. We're very grateful to our sponsors. We've had so many great sponsors over the 65 days, and we're going to continue to work with you and others. If you have an interest in sponsoring us, let us know. Our rates are very inexpensive. Your chance to get the word out about anything you're interested in, please let us know. My email you see on the screen, Sree@Sree.net, SREE@SREE.net. And if you like what you see on the show and you'd like to have your own show or you'd like to have your own conference go online, please hire my team, Digimentors, and just email me, Sree@Sree.net, SREE@SREE.net. We're working on a conference for 50,000 teachers coming up May 30th. We just finished a 3-day conference for Princeton University. We just did a virtual book launch for the #1 best-selling author on Amazon, John O'Leary. Those are the kinds of things we're doing and we're building right now, and we'd love to work with you. So if you know anyone who's thinking of canceling their conference, postponing their conference, have them talk to us. All right, without further ado, we're ready to meet our great guests. So let me bring them on. They are ready. They're backstage. They're ready to get going. And so here they are. Let me say hello to all of them. We're going to bring them on, unmute their mics first, and here they are. All right. Hello.
Hello.
Happy to be here.
Lucius. Hi, Jitin. I think Pia might still be muted. She may have to unmute herself there, and she's going to do that. And thank you all for being here. How are you, Pia? Thank you for being here. Everybody, please make sure you've already tagged your friends and shared. We're going to talk to these folks. We are talking about escapist cinema from South Asia. That's an intriguing title. Jitin, tell us what we're talking about tonight.
So Sree, I came up with this title because I think during this pandemic and during these turbulent times, we all could use with a little bit of escapism. And there's nothing more escapist than Bollywood and South Asian cinema. And so basically what we did is we decided to combine our two festivals. We run a festival in Mass and a festival in North. Because of the pandemic, obviously, we cannot have live events this year. And so in an effort to keep our community and our audiences engaged, we've created an online series, a 7-week online series, which we're calling Escapist Cinema of South Asia. And the idea is every Saturday, people can, from the comfort of their living rooms, go online and watch a festival type film, shorts, documentaries, feature films around a specific theme. So they feel like they're getting dressed up. They can go to a festival. There's a little bit of entertainment that we're providing at the very end. And this is actually great practice for me because I'm seeing how you're hosting this show. And I'm actually about to do this tomorrow myself for 3 hours. Obviously, we'll have some films in between. But yeah, so that's basically how Escapist Cinema of South Asia got started. We wanted to create a platform for people to escape, to not think about the pandemic, to basically delve into some great films that we've curated for them for the next 7 weeks. And we hope people will tune in.
I'm sure they will, and you'll do a better job hosting than I will, so that's going to be pretty cool. And we want everyone who's watching who has a cinemaphile friend or somebody who wants to make cinema, somebody who already makes movies, tag them in Facebook or tag them on Twitter, YouTube, LinkedIn. This is a chance to watch this and to learn about escapist cinema from South Asia. And we want to also hear from everyone. What are you watching? What are things that you're kind of keep up with all that entertainment that's out there? There's lots of live streaming going on. Instead of watching this, you could be off on Netflix or Hulu or Amazon Prime, but you're here tonight and we're so grateful. And we also have people watching around the world. Tell us where you're watching from. I'm going to ask that of our guests in just a minute, but let's see who's here from around the world. Paula is watching from Tallahassee. Hi, Paula. Can't hang around long, unfortunately, but you can always watch the recording. Paula is part of my amazing team at Digimentors. We produce, among other things, the weekly New York Times read-along. Sunday mornings at 8:30 a.m., we talk and read the New York Times out loud. And this week, we have 2 amazing guests who are going to be with us, including Rick Wilson, who has written a New York Times #1 bestseller, Everything Trump Touches Dies, and he's going to be with us. He's from the Republican side, and we also have a guest from the Democratic side who are going to talk about the news and the New York Times. I see Kanika is with us, super excited about this topic. She's a doctor who lives in Houston, I believe, and she can tell us more. Jonathan's watching from Union Square. She has watched for 65 straight days. Jonathan has watched us and joined us every single day. We're so grateful, Jonathan, that you're here. My other producers are here. Rose Horowitz, she's tweeting at Rose Horowitz 31. Rose Horowitz 31, please follow her. She lives in Connecticut and she's one of our 2 producers. The other is Vandana Menon, who put together this show. She's Vandana_Menon. And look at what Jonathan's doing. He's tagging his friends. Everybody please do that. Ash is watching from Toronto. Great to see you, Ash. And Ashok is watching from Kerala in India. How cool is that? And Ashok says, we are safe here. So glad to hear that. And another Sree is watching from Fairfax, Virginia. We're over the Sree quota for this show, but he's got the different spelling, so that's okay. Ashok says, with NRIs and people coming from other states, the COVID-19 positive cases are on the rise. Wait a minute, he's blaming the non-resident Indians who are coming back home. We hope everybody's safe, and we hope everybody stays safe, but you're right, as the doors open, either international borders or within states, whether it's in America or anywhere else, you're going to see those waves come in. And Rose is tagging folks. And Ashok says, I too love watching movies. And Ashok is saying, link to the program, please. So why don't we do that? If Jitin, you can go into your Facebook and put in the link, but you can also tell us what's the easiest way to find the entire series, Jitin.
Sure. So the easiest way to find the entire series is go to onlinefest.us. That's onlinefest.us. You will actually be able to look at all of our programming for the next 7 weeks. You'll be able to click on it, create a profile, register for the screening. And the best part is if you register for any particular film, what we're doing is we're donating a mask, a microfiber 3-layer mask, to New York City and Texas hospitals that are in need. We're calling this initiative Watch a Film, Save a Life. And the idea is while you're at home watching these films and our essential workers are out there doing what they do best, let's be able to give back to them as well in any way possible. And so, we'd love for more and more people to participate. Our goal is 25,000 masks at the end of the 7 weeks. And again, they're going to go to New York City and Texas hospitals in need because our festivals are based in New York City and Texas. So we really hope people join, watch our programming, watch a film, save a life.
That is very good marketing. Watch a film, save a life, and you're helping so many people. Do we have the right URL on the screen?
We do, onlinefest.us. Thank you so much.
And what is the cost of watching?
It's $6 for each film. That's for about 3 blocks of programming. And in those 3 blocks, we have shorts, documentaries, features. We also have a Q&A just like this one with our actors and directors via Zoom. We also have a chat function so people can ask their questions of the actors and directors via live chat. And then as I mentioned at the end of it, we have a little after party where we have some entertainment. Tomorrow night, we have the Grammy-nominated singer and songwriter Pia Shah, who's going to be singing a song actually in Gujarati, inspired by our feature film tomorrow, which is Halaro, also a film in Gujarati. Now, all of these films have subtitles, so people from all over the world can join in and watch.
That's awesome. So everyone go to onlinefest.us and let's get people signed up. $6, very inexpensive, even internationally. That's a great price. Paula says, can't wait to do the New York Times read-along with Rick Wilson and Stephen Shale Sunday morning for the New York Times read-along, 8:30 to 10:30 a.m. Eastern time. Angela's watching from Long Island, and Rose is continuing to tag her friends. She's fit in a walk at the beach and planting some herbs today. That's great. Shiva is watching from Cupertino, California. How cool is that? And Mark is watching from Durham, North Carolina, a man of great culture. He's involved in a lot of cultural stuff down in North Carolina. And Vandana has also put in a link to the show. Pradnya is watching from Silver Spring, Maryland. Hi, Pradnya. Pradnya was the focus of our New York Times read-along this past Sunday. And folks, it's worth going back in and watching that show. You can just find her very easily. You go to our archive. The best way to keep track of all my shows is to go online and go to the YouTube page, youtube.com/Sreenet. SREENET. You see it in the ticker below you, and that way you will know. And Pradnya is just a wonderful philanthropic strategist, executive director of Magic Bus USA, and you can watch that archived show there as well. Let's get in a couple more comments, and then we're going to talk to Pia and Lucius as well. And Sree says, haha, look forward to watching Escapist shorts and featured over the next few Fast Saturdays. Great initiative. Thank you. Tell your friends. Hit share right now. And so the government is doing everything possible to contain the spread. He's talking India. That's good to know. And Kerala has gotten a lot of props for doing a great job with that. And Mark says, where are the films from? Any Southern films? So tell us, Jitin, very quickly, what is the range of the films? And they're from South Asia. Are they also South Asian American films? Talk about that, please.
Yeah, so first programming is called Song and Dance Programming, and the idea is to truly escape via song and dance. So we're showing films that focus on South Asian songs and dances. And our next following weekend's programming is Diaspora Programming. We have a South African Indian film that we're showing in our Diaspora Programming, as well as Pia's film is going to be part of that. Pia will talk a little bit about her film as well. She's produced and acted in her short film, The Shower, which will be part of our Diaspora Programming. The weekend after that, we actually have our LGBTQI programming, and we have a film from Canada actually in that programming. The following week, we have our pandemic programming. We're actually putting together a series of shorts that are focused on the pandemic and how people are feeling and they're still making films in the midst of all of this. And we've actually compiled a series of short films that deal directly with the pandemic, whether it's South Asian or Asian in nature, and we've actually put those together for a programming spot as well. So we've got a plethora of programming for you, very engaging shorts, docs, and features. Go check it all out. All the synopses, trailers, and stills are available at onlinefest.us.
And we will go to that website in a few minutes so that we can see and learn everything there. But let's go now to Pia, who's going to talk about her work. Pia Shah, welcome to the program. And tell us where you are, first of all, and how you're doing.
I'm in Los Angeles, and I'm doing okay. This is definitely uncharted territory for all of us. So I, like a lot of people, vacillate between trying to be productive and at the same time just trying to wrap my head around what's been happening around the globe. And in my personal life, I have a 9-month-old baby, so we don't have childcare now, and it's been a sort of a huge learning curve to be home all day long. I was doing a play up until March 1st, and it closed. We were doing The Father at Pasadena Playhouse with Alfred Molina. It was one of the best experiences of my life. And I could not have imagined that a week later, every show, including, Black Box Theater to Broadway, was shutting down, in some cases shutting down on literally the day after their opening night. So their opening night was their closing night. And like so many industries, the entire workforce has just all of a sudden, lost their jobs. The entire casts and crews of every TV show, every theater, every type of live performer, basically. So there have been a lot of ups and downs. And my family's in New Jersey, and friends in New York still, where I used to live. So, I know you guys are really hard hit, and I'm just sending all of my love and care to you and to everybody who's watching and tuning in around the world. So the film that Jitin has so wonderfully programmed in his festival, that I can't wait to see the rest of the films. And I think the New York one is the inaugural year, I believe, is it? Or that was last year?
New York was inaugural last year.
Last year, great. So basically, I wrote, produced, and acted in a short film. It's called The Shower. And without giving everything away, it's just a tidbit, is that it's about that moment in your life when you are having a baby, and the sort of societally accepted way of handling that is often really different if you go a little bit deeper under the surface. And there are many people nowadays who are child-free, either by choice or by circumstance. And this is a situation where there are two best friends. One of them is having a baby and the other one is not. And they're at the baby shower, and they have a day of sort of reckoning. It's two old friends and coming to terms with their future. So that's a little bit about The Shower. It was directed by Mahesh Pailur, who did The Layover, which was also at the festivals a couple of years ago now.
Actually, I have to say that Mahesh kicked off our very first festival ever with his film Brahmin Bulls. That was in Dallas 6 years ago, and it was a beautiful film. And I have a very soft spot for Mahesh. He's actually part of our jury as well. And his film started it all off for us. And Pia, your film is going to be part of our festival now. So it's very exciting.
Yeah, he's a fantastic director. And listen, I was 8 months pregnant when I decided to do this. My manager, the amazing Adil Chamak, encouraged me to just go for it before the baby came. And I knew that Mahesh would be able to just run with it, do it with a bare bones crew, and just real guerrilla style filmmaking. And we got it done. So I hope that you guys will watch it and tune in. And it's one of those rare stories that's told from a female point of view, and reclaiming that female gaze that we don't often see in cinema, be it South Asian or American, where a woman really gets to tell her story from her point of view. So
Yeah, that's, I think, very special. And we wish everybody could take a look at onlinefest.us and remind us, Jitin, when her movie's running. Is it this Saturday or next Saturday, right?
Pia's film, actually, The Shower, is going to be part of our Diaspora Programming, which is scheduled next Saturday.
Great. And so, of course, for people watching on the recording, all of that. What happens after the 7 weeks are over, Jitin? Can they still watch it, or then you have to wait till it's on some other platform?
So, because this whole idea of online festivals is so new, and, I know that Lucius is going to chime in on some of that as well. We basically have had to, it's been an uphill task to get these films to commit to, first of all, going online and showing their films at an online festival versus a live festival. And so because of piracy issues, because of the live streaming capabilities of so many of these platforms, it's really been an uphill task. And so these films are only going to be available on this platform, onlinefest.us, for the duration of the live stream. They will not be available on demand after the fact. They will not be available the following week. They will only be available in that time slot that is given to them, because there are so many restrictions around online screenings. And again, it has been really an uphill task to get some of these films to commit to being part of an online festival.
So we're going to talk about the business of all of this in just a minute with Lucius. And we want to remind everyone, go to onlinefest.us after the show so that you can sign up. And let's see if we're getting any comments. Mansi Patel says, I'm checking out onlinefest.us. Awesome concept. That's great. And let's see who else is here. Rick says, are the movies repeatedly offered at different times for international audiences? Jitin, are you doing that, or you're just not able to because of rights and other things, right?
Absolutely. So again, it's only going to stream one time, and in that one time, whatever time zone you're in, unfortunately for some of you, it may be the morning, early morning, or in Europe, it's the middle of the night. But I do actually have some tickets sold in London, some tickets sold in Kerala, some tickets sold actually in Pakistan. And so we're looking at our tickets coming in, and it is truly a global screening and a global audience that's going to be participating.
That's great. And Zakaria is watching, and he says, great initiative. God bless you all. He must be in LA. He's shirtless in this photograph, standing at the beach, which looks, I'm sure, very inviting for lots of folks to be thinking about going out. Stay in and watch this film festival online. 7 weeks. You may not be able to catch all 7 weeks, but do the best that you can. Onlinefest.us. Ashok says the Guardian paper has featured the Kerala government health minister on how we contain the pandemic in an effective way. I think Kerala has done a terrific job. We hope it stays that way, because that's the issue in India and lots of places where there hasn't been enough testing, and we will find out. Rose says to Pia, wow, love the Pasadena Playhouse. Good luck with your 9-month-old. It's crazy the situation we're in now. And you decided, I'll just make a movie. It's, motherhood isn't hard enough already, but to do that in a pandemic. And Mark says the Haiti Black Filmmakers Collective has been showing films and films in work and actually given constructive criticism over the last few Tuesdays. We actually have a pandemic-related film showing this Tuesday. Isn't that cool? So great. We're bringing together the film family, a global film family. My father's watching from Kerala. Hi, Acha. Nice to see you, or see at least your photo on my screen here. You can watch me. And he's saying Bollywood, Malluwood, which is the Kerala Malayali film festivals, and Kollywood. It's just great to have everybody together. And he's watching in Kerala. And Rick says, COVID is a great sense-making challenge, but look on the upsides of adversity. But what a time to have a baby home alone without family. He's got that right. And Sonali's watching from LA, and maybe Sonali and Pia know each other. And Mark says, I hate the full frame. Our documentary, I hate that our major documentary film festival was canceled. I hope they do an online version. Maybe they should contact Lucius and Jitin and learn how they can do that. And my mom's also watching from Kerala. Hi, Amma, we love you. Thank you for watching. My family's a big, everybody in the family's a big cinemaphile. We even have a filmmaker in our family in my generation, my cousin Prarthana, who is in LA. She just made an awesome film called The Miseducation of Bindu. And you may know it. And David Arquette is starring in it. And the Duplass brothers executive produced it, which is incredible. And she is in LA, and I hope she watches some of this. Ritwik says, insightful. And Arun says, best wishes from the Nepal Human Rights International Film Festival. How nice is that? Truly South Asians coming together. Jitin, how do people contact you if they want to learn more, they have questions, they want to just extend that film festival family?
Sure. So, I think the easiest way to contact me is on Facebook. They can send me a private message. I have a public profile, so anyone can actually reach out to me. My name again is Jitin Hingorani, and I'm on Facebook. You can just send me a private message there. I think that'll be the best way, and I'm pretty active.
Great. And I'm going to now turn to Lucius. And by the way, Jitin, you'll appreciate this since this is cinema and everything is live right now. Someone said, can we get a little more light on Jitin? So when we are off with Lucius, maybe you can work on the lighting a little bit, okay? And let's go to Lucius. Hi, Lucius.
So happy to be here. Yeah, thank you for having me.
Very patient. No, very patient. Thank you.
I feel especially displaced because I would normally be at the Cannes Festival this week. And as much as we think of Cannes and glamour and stars and a lot of glitz and events, parties and champagne, the root system of the festivals worldwide were in the end of the First World War. The First World War broke the sunny optimism and goodwill among the peoples of Europe, and the charter for the Cannes Festival was 1939, between the wars. Knowing that things were not completely settled, the charter was to show the widest selection of films from around the world under the best possible technical circumstances in order to build the film industry up with the purpose of building goodwill among the peoples of the world. So if you look at the history of festivals that I'm part of, this is the world of festivals in Berlin, Cannes, Locarno, Carlo Vivari. They all go back to the post-war years when they were sponsored by diplomatic missions. So I see Cannes, for instance, is the largest family wedding in the industry because we have huge delegations from India, from Kazakhstan, from every country in the world, showing their culture in a sense of goodwill and universal cooperation, showing their work in the sense of now more and more in the digital age, lateral cooperation. No longer do we have to get that man at the BBC or that lady from from Arte in France to get support and get a foothold on a production. There are now many, many people who know that we as a community, if we recognize there is a wide community worldwide, can put a lot of things into the works without having to stand in line for grants and becoming grantsmen. You know, many times the last 20 or 30 years of our industry, there's always someone in the production team who's expert at writing grants. They used to talk about 7 silos of financial support in the British Isles alone, just for various aspects of how you could apply for those cash was a big job for one person full time to keep the deadlines and the applications and the proposals in gear and beta testing things that would then be sharpened later and should not be sent out too early. So my work is actually essentially to secure distribution for films from many cultures of the world. And I work with many cultures, many people, to build that sense of goodwill that only builds a sense of community. So the digital age, especially right now, that we don't have to be in the same place, in the same time zone to participate, is especially appropriate for our age. I should also say, with a note of sadness, I'm in a mode of retreat during this coronavirus crisis because I'm recalibrating my sense of purpose, given the fact that most festivals these days are not going to be very sustainable, given the cost of travel, accommodations, and what are we earning from these efforts if we have to go to a place like Cannes and spend a lot of money, or Venice and spend a lot of money and time. It's not going to be so easy for everyone to travel as much as they used to all these places and seek. What we're seeking is prestige, the cachet of being invited to a festival or winning a prize at a festival. There are going to be other ways for us to recognize talent. I'm looking at ways that we can spark interest in new films and share them in ways that will build our own sense of community, our own sense of purpose worldwide. So this is a really exciting time and a good initiative on Jitin's part to bring this. I don't think it's an experiment. It's been tried before, it'll be tried again, but we're now on this platform and we're going to be here to stay. Lastly, I see also the whole business of streaming films is going back to radio days, the days when we first had radios in our homes. And it wasn't just storytelling or making music, as many families in the 19th century and up to the early 20th knew how to tell stories, play games, parlor games, play the spoons just for a rhythm band or something. But now, since the radio days when we had that broadcast from the Starlight Ballroom in Chicago and everyone in the state of Illinois, but then the whole of the United States could listen to the same broadcast and come to school or work the next morning with the same experience that they could talk about, that was another aspect of the sense community that has been challenged by the business of having 500 channels to look at and 500 streaming channels, 500 choices every night. So that's what we're facing, and that's why I'm in a deep mode of meditation and configuring what is it will take us forward as an industry.
Thank you so much, Lucius. You've already taught me about the origins of Cannes. I did not know, so thank you for that. And I know our audience is also learning so much. We're getting comments, and Twyla says, truth, the cachet was so much a part of the film festival industry, the circuit that they had. And Mark says, radio serials were so great back in the day. And podcasts are an example of that, right? A modern day incarnation of those. And by the way, look at Jitin's lighting, Pia. Do you approve? Ask our actress about Jitin's lighting. Look at that.
I do approve. I do approve. Much better.
Two more candles. Is that right?
Yo, you're muted, Jitin.
No, go ahead, Jitin. We missed what you said. Say it again, please.
No, I was just saying yes, lots of candles, doing it the old school way, radio and candles.
Yeah. And now you're ready for your close-up. You look very, very good in the lighting there. And that's one of the things I've learned.
With the natural light, it's easier in LA, but I'm losing that light soon. So I'm going to have to resort to, But speaking of radio serials, I'm actually rehearsing a radio play right now that will premiere on May 28th on SoundCloud. And it's about two women of the Indian diaspora who are lesbians, and one of them wants to hold on to their customs very much and is fasting, and the other one doesn't understand why she's doing it. And they're at a restaurant and trying to break their fast, and hilarity ensues. So if you follow me on Twitter or Instagram, or follow at the Public Assembly, you will be able to listen to that as a radio play.
Great.
And tell us you have an unusual Twitter handle.
My Twitter handle is @Pizza Zadora. So my name is Pia.
Pia Zadora, Pizza
Yeah.
Zadora.
Yeah.
I'm going to say there are going to be some people in our audience who don't remember Pia Zadora. So how did you end up with Pizza Zadora?
Pizza Zadora. Well, my parents would talk about Pia Zadora, and actually they would talk. I think they're watching. So hi, Mom and Dad. But I think they used to talk about Pia Lindström, who was the daughter maybe of Ingmar Bergman.
Ingrid Bergman, daughter of Ingrid Bergman, the actress.
Ingrid Bergman.
Yes, first child. Yeah.
So anyway, I always think about those two Pias. I also, I wasn't around, when they were at their height, but I think Pia Zadora is still around and she's on Twitter. So anyway, I love pizza, so I made it Pizza Zadora. So it's @Pizza Zadora is my Twitter handle, and I'm Pia June Shah on Instagram.
Say that one more time on Instagram, please.
Pia June Shah. So it's PIA June, like the month, Shah, SHAH.
Right, Pia June Shah on Instagram. Instagram is huge in the creative community, and so make sure you're connecting with her
huge.
there. Let's go for some more comments, and then we'll.
The Public Theater in New York was doing a Zoom play yesterday, and apparently this is going to be the future for us for now. So films are being written with social distancing in mind. How do you get a crew on a set? How do you mic somebody? How do you get in their space and light them and check their light with the light meter and all of that? It's all uncharted territory. There have been some suggestions that maybe shows will have people have their temperature checked in the morning, at lunch, and at night when they go home. But who knows? I mean, it's all to be seen.
Yeah, we're all in uncharted territory. Twyla points out it is Ingrid Bergman, and that Pia Zadora is still around, she says. And Steve Taylor is watching. Steve is part of my awesome team at Digimentors. If you want a show like this, let us know, and we'll put that together for you. If there's a conference that's being canceled, don't let it get canceled without talking to us. Don't let it get postponed without talking to us. So let's look at a little bit of the technology behind the onlinefest.us. That's the place we want everyone to go and check out this film festival, and they have 7 weeks of the film festival. So I'm going to bring up the channel here, and Jitin, if you can kind of walk us through what we're looking at and what is here, and also who runs this, where did you pick this platform, how did you pick this platform, etc., please.
Sure. So the person who runs Online Fest is a company out of Dallas called Falcon Events. And the reason why I picked them, I actually interviewed quite a few platforms before I decided which one to go with, only because, as I mentioned earlier, Sree, the privacy and security issues are paramount for our filmmakers. And if we're going to show any of their films, We want to make sure that the platform is doing everything in its power to ensure that piracy is prevented. I mean, of course, it's likely to exist just like it would in a movie theater, but the idea is to prevent it as much as possible. And so Falcon Events has this amazing platform called onlinefest.us. The other thing I really liked about this is that it's been developed by a festival director himself. So he really understands the nuances of screening films and Q&As and all of the different bells and whistles that go along with doing an online festival. And he actually taught me a lot about this process because he himself runs a live festival and has been working on this platform now for the last 10 years. So onlinefest.us is what we picked. If you go on there, you'll see a tab for Escapist Cinema of South Asia. We've actually programmed the first 5 weeks right now. We're still finalizing our last 2 films for the end of June and our last 2 blocks of programming. So you can actually see the first 5 blocks there when you scroll through. And if you click on those, you will get a chance to actually look at the film specifically, the posters, the synopses. We have some trailers there also. And then at the very bottom, it'll tell you who exactly is participating in the Q&A. Like, for example, in tomorrow's screening, we have the directors. We have Lucius actually moderating our screening tomorrow, so we're excited to have him. And we've got our filmmakers, a producer, a lead actor, all from India joining in for the Zoom call. So basically this is the setup. And as I mentioned, audience members can also ask questions of the filmmakers during the live Q&A, just like we're doing right now in your platform, Sree.
Thank you. And folks, we're talking about onlinefest.us. Please tag your friends, please share with them so that they can also learn and participate with us during the show. We're looking right now at something that's coming up tomorrow. So let's ask Lucius, who's with us. Lucius, you're going to be moderating this conversation. Tell me how you're practicing for it, how you're setting up. You've done
I live my life on the principle that the most specific and indigenous is the most universal. This is also the UN year of we just finished 2019, the year of indigenous languages. But to have a film set in Gujarat, a state which is desert wasteland, a desert civilization of people who lived on the dry land, and still we're not too far from civilization. The new bride comes in, she went to 7th grade, and so she's got something different bringing to the town. And it's something about city mouse, country mouse that's really resonant in the film, that there's a sense of something going on in this big town, but there's a son of the chieftain who goes back and forth. He rides a horse into town and comes back and forth. So one of the things I'm looking at is the way we keep our eye on the ball when it comes to the root system of culture. What did our grandmothers do, and how did they live? What did our grandparents think of and speak about, and how did they sustain themselves? In the middle of this film, by the way, the young woman comes to town and they discover a drummer near the water hole where all of them have to march. All the ladies in the village go the long march into the desert to find a watering hole to bring back water to the village. This is the drummer they find on the screen now, whose life is really been ruined by his own devastation. He's now finding a new anchor point in life, and he asks these ladies to dance to his drum. And so it's almost like a film about girls' night out. The ladies are secretly dancing every day as they should be gathering water. They spend time with this man. And then, of course, in the third act, they bring the man back to the village. And there's a showdown with the men who didn't imagine that their wives would ever be doing something so shameful as dance, much less with a stranger. So it's about...
great. So let's remind people of the name of the movie. It's called Face Yourself.
This Tina is the short, and the following is the screen shot from Helaro, H-E-L-A-R-O.
Yeah.
Both are on the program for tomorrow.
So one is 2 hours and 1 minute, and Face Yourself, Tina, is the short that's running 8 minutes and 50 seconds. And so let me ask you, since you're the expert on global cinema here, how do you feel this is going to go? What is this experience going to be like? What are you going to get that you would not get otherwise? And what are you going to be missing in experience?
Well, in this sense, the sense of community is universal. The sense of community is that we have one heart, and the situations are emotionally quite familiar. I mean, that your husband says, "Where are you going tonight?" And you say, "It's girls' night out. I'm going out to the movies with my friends, my girlfriends." Well, this is another aspect of what's going on in this film. It's been transposed into a much less complicated environment than that of the big city, but it's exactly the same emotional story. So the emotional tenor of many films are not foreign to people who are part of the human race, And so I think we can begin there to imagine a world where many of the building blocks of the story are really quite familiar. And again, because depicts a civilization that's not necessarily contemporary. It's based on a folktale, and it's not necessarily happening in 2020 or any recent years. It could be any time in the past or recent past or distant past. So when you take a film into its elemental state, you have the only question is whether it is authentic to the culture that it's depicting. So in this case, the dances of this province are particular, and there are dance clubs, I've understood, that have been founded in India to follow the dances that were depicted in this film, which were taken from things that we'll discover tomorrow. I don't know exactly how they researched it, but there was an effort to make the depiction of this culture as authentic as possible.
Terrific. We're going to bring back Jitin and Pia onto the screen in just a moment. And look at Nitesh's comment. Online film festival, great idea. I hope Jitin's taking screenshots now or later to show sponsors that this is an idea that works. People are inspired by it. People are liking that this is happening. And then Twyla says that Pia's mother worked on Broadway as a dresser. And Daryl's tuning in from South Richmond Hill, Queens, New York City. And Mark says, just put 2 films on hold, including the one for next week with The Shower. So you already made a sale there, Jitin, so that's great. And we hope more people will check this out. Let's bring in the star of The Shower, Pia Shah, is here. And we're just going to reintroduce everybody, and we're going to go for another 20 minutes or so. So this is your chance, folks, to ask our experts questions about the creativity it takes to put together a film festival in the middle of this pandemic, and to make it not just something that they've kind of thrown together, but something serious, something worthwhile, something that respects the cinema and the art of everyone involved. I'm very proud of you, Jitin, for putting this together, and just congratulations. The comments are coming in, and we're really glad to see that. Mark says, just watched a great replay of a play by Tashi Regan earlier. It was adapted from the works of Octavia Butler, so people are talking about what they're watching. Kanika says, incredible initiative to an online festival, especially when people most need cinema. Can't wait. So I think Jitin just took another screenshot there. That's good. He's marketing there as he's doing that. Pia, as an actress, what are your thoughts about this moment? And you've dived in by deciding that this is what you wanted to do even in the pandemic. But did you have second thoughts? Many people are just retreating, and we cannot blame them considering what an unusual, horrifying situation we're in around the planet, Pia.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great point. I mean, look, it's not business as usual because there's nothing normal about the situation. So on the one hand, you really have to do what is right for you. For the first month of the pandemic, I would say, as once it started affecting us in the States and we started to stay at home, I really was just trying to get my life to some semblance of order and starting to come to terms with the new schedule and the new normal. I didn't really feel like I could start creating again until I'm about a month in, and that was just for me. There's that quote that these are precisely the kind of times when artists go to work. So I do think that there will be a lot of material coming out of this as people start to find a catharsis for themselves and an outlet to express what they're going through and to help each other feel like they belong, which I think is ultimately the goal of, for me anyway, is to always try to reach out to people and make sure that they know, however strange they're feeling inside, that they belong and that there are other people who share what they are going through, that they're not alone. And we really are learning that we're all in this together. The film that Lucius was just talking about sounds so interesting. Hilaro, I think it's called, and I cannot wait to tune in. My family is actually from that part of India, the Rann of Kutch. My dad was actually born in a small village in Kutch, and there are very few films that are in Gujarati or that are shot in Kutch, and they're about that culture. But I've spent many summers there in my grandmother's home, and lots of fond memories of going to the well, getting the water. So I really can't wait to tune in to this film, and I hope that everybody else will too, because it sounds absolutely fantastic. But yeah, in terms of creating in the pandemic, just to be clear, I was 8.5 months pregnant before the pandemic. Giving birth during the pandemic is a whole other thing. I just went to a baby shower on Zoom, and we did the best we could, but there was a point in the shower, when real baby shower that I was attending on Zoom, where her mom and sister said, hey, we wish we could be there with you. And, you know, the mom-to-be just started to cry, because you never imagine you're going to have a baby in a situation where maybe even your partner is not allowed into the birthing room, as is happening in New York right now. So, yeah, these are strange, strange times. But hopefully the power of film and these online films will make people feel like they're not alone. We can remember a time when this wasn't normal, and this too will pass, and we will find our way through it and find a new way of making art on the way there.
Kanika, who's a doctor, says, I'm attending a Zoom baby shower tomorrow. So there you go. So that is the universal experience. Our friend Renee Edelman is checking in. She's saying hello to everybody. And I want to give the the hashtags and handles of our guests and the show. So the film festivals are the DFW SAFF and the NYC SAFF. And the Twitter handles are at Jitin Hingorani and at Pizza Zadora on Twitter for Pia. And she's also on Instagram, Pia June Shah, Juneshah. Lucius is too busy traveling the world to waste his time with social media, right, Lucius?
No, but Gmail, Lucius Barre, my whole name without punctuation, luciusbarre@gmail.com will get me.
Look at that. He gave you his email address. That's real. That's a old school but power move there. Because
no, in most cities, you pick up the phone and ask the operator to connect you to Lucius. I'll be there.
Lucius, you're awesome. This is great. I want to just tell you that Vandana points out that Father is a Tony Award-winning play, and that Alfred Molina is a big star, says Rose. So that was great, Pia, that you got to work with Alfred Molina. People know him from so many serious and comic roles, and he was also a villain in a Spider-Man film, but he's a wonderful actor, and it's just, transforms himself in every role, Pia.
Absolutely. He would joke that if it was a man of a certain age coming up to him, a little bit older, maybe in their 40s, it would be Raiders of the Lost Ark, which is what they knew him from. If it was someone younger, it would be Spider-Man. And if it was women, it would be Chocolat. But he's very versatile, and, from everything from Fiddler on the Roof on Broadway to short videos for Funny or Die. I mean, he is so prolific, and I learned so much working with him and from him, just about the way his attitude was, coming into work every day, talking to everybody on the crew, making everyone feel welcome, and always so funny. Just a great guy. And I brought the baby in to meet him, and I'll treasure those photos forever now.
And he'll still be going when that baby is older. He'll still be going. So
that's true.
And Rose says he starred on Fiddler. We saw him with our kids on Broadway, and so did we. We saw him on Fiddler on Labor Day. This is one of the tricks in New York, that if you're in New York City on Labor Day, there are not that many tourists, and you could get into some great plays. The tragedy of it is, as you know, Broadway is now going to be dark through Labor Day, and so it's that same date. Labor Day is the official end of summer here in New York, for those of you who are not from here, and so it's a milestone date on the calendar. And now to think of it as so sad that there will not be a show, and there will not be shows till after. And by the way, Melissa is watching, and she says, Sree, I admire your commitment to this group. Every single day, every single episode, every single social media update. She says, thank you. I appreciate all of you for watching and for being part of this global conversation we have, but also this global community we're building. And Renee says, congrats. She says, first of all, interesting discussion. And she says, congrats on your 65th show, says Renee. I just celebrated my 50th show, and then suddenly it's 65. We didn't even have a moment to think and make a big deal of it. So we'll do something for the 75th show, which will obviously be in 10 days. I promise to do this until we're in lockdown in New York, or until I get COVID-19. And I'm so grateful to everybody who's watching, and also our great producers, Rose Horowitz and Vandana Menon. Please follow them, Rose Horowitz 31 and Vandana_Menon. I do want to follow up on one thing that you said when we were just talking, Pia. You talked about creativity at this time, right? Artists create, and you can do that during pandemics. And there are some famous examples of great things that came out of pandemics. And so we decided to follow up on that idea. And we did a show recently about Shakespeare and pandemics. And you've heard the story that King Lear was written by Shakespeare during the plague. And then the question was, do we have to write King Lear to count, to have had a successful quarantine? And we had the two of the leading experts on Shakespeare in the world join my colleague Linda Bernstein and I. We interviewed Carol Rudder of the University of Warwick and Emma Smith of Shakespeare Studies in Oxford. And you can go back and watch that video. Again, all of it is findable on my YouTube channel, youtube.com/Sreenet. Please go, please hit subscribe. We have so many fantastic conversations that we've done already and we're going to keep doing. And, you know, it turned out, Pia, that not only may he may not have written King Lear during the plague, that we don't have to write King Lear to be successful. We don't have to create, like Jitin, an online film festival to be successful, like Lucius to rethink the role of film festivals in the world, like Pia to have a baby during pandemic to be successful. We just need to get through it. Everybody can be at a different stage and go in, do whatever you can. You don't have to feel like you have to be super active and creative, because every one of us approaches this from a different point of view, a very personal point of view. Jitin, how did you get, and Lucius is giving us the thumbs up. Jitin, how did you not just give up? Because so many film festivals and others, no fault of theirs, said, okay, I'm out. We cannot do this. We're including things like South by and others. We don't blame anybody for doing that way, for feeling that way. How did you decide to keep going?
You know, I think a lot of it had to do with just, I guess, my tenacity, my DNA, my team, my sponsors who wanted us to continue. And I think, so much of it has to do with our audience. So many of them were asking, does this mean that the festival is canceled? Does this mean we can't see the films? I mean, we have people who plan their vacations around our festivals, especially in the DFW area. And so really, this was kind of an ode to them and to be able to do something for them during this time. But more importantly, I think so many of us who are not essential workers and who are not going to work every day and doing something positive to work, during this pandemic, feel like, what can they do? And so I wanted to give people an opportunity to do something while sitting in their homes, in the comfort of their own homes, watch a film, save a life. We'll donate a mask to New York City and Texas hospitals on your behalf. Our goal is 25,000 masks at the end of these 7 weeks. And so this is just something else that you, as a normal average citizen who loves movies, can do to kind of do your two-bit towards this global effort. And so there were a multitude of reasons, but I think these are the primary reasons why I was determined to do something online this year and to do some sort of a festival as an homage to not only my audiences, but also to our true heroes and heroines of our pandemic stories, who are our medical workers.
Thank you. And I salute you for doing that. I think that is just great. And again, no offense to anyone, who didn't decide to put on a film festival. That's okay. We all come to this in different ways, and we appreciate that very much. Rose says, Sree, industry people say Broadway will not open until start of 2021. That is just stunning to read and very, very sad. Mark has a comment for Lucius, so let me put that on the screen. And Lucius, are you ready to speak in Durham, North Carolina?
Sure.
Maybe we'll get you and Rodrigo Dorfman in a conversation. So I don't know if you're ready either to travel virtually or in person to go. You've already got your email address.
Absolutely.
And I think he accidentally wrote in Lucius Barre, but
no,
I like that also. But he's Lucius, not
exactly.
Thank you. Oh, I think we have a guest who has joined us live on screen. This is very exciting. Everybody stand back, get ready. 1, 2, 3. Who's that?
Oh, great.
Hello. Hello.
The realities of the pandemic.
So what happened? This baby just arrived and was given to you on screen?
My husband had to get onto a work call, and so he was doing dinner and bath time and bedtime. But I guess he's gotten pulled away. So.
Yeah, no, but that's perfect. We love this. Do you remember, folks? There was that kid who walked into a BBC interview, and it was considered like the most funny thing anyone had seen. Now it's completely normal. And in fact, I'm so happy you brought your baby on, because that humanizes all of us. And again, we don't have to be perfect at this time. And you've shown that. But please introduce us properly. We have not been introduced.
This is Nico. His middle name is Zuma. So his first name is Nico, after Nico from the Velvet Underground. And also Nico means smile in Japanese. And then Zuma is the beach here, and is also a Neil Young album. So he has an unusual name, Nico Zuma.
Wonderful. That is just awesome. Jitin, have you met the baby yet?
I have not, but I'm just, and look at him smiling. Like he's truly, he knows when the camera is on him. This guy's going to be a star, Pia. I think you got your gene.
This is clearly not his first appearance on screen, right?
Yeah. Hey, I want him to remember this. This was how we got to start. And we're really happy, baby. We're congratulations. And the baby's a little older than I thought, because I thought somehow in hearing your story, the baby just was born. So
no, he's 9 months now. So very real. But he was not born when I shot the film. I was 8.5 months pregnant.
Right.
So.
Okay. So sometimes these timelines get hazy in these shows. I just have to show the baby again. Close up of the baby is always good. And there we go. Look at that. That's amazing. Look at the smile. That is just great. And that's awesome. I was going to say that is just great to have you with our baby. If you need to step away, Pia, we completely understand, but thank you. And Jitin, now you've got to convince her that you'll pay the baby, the appropriate rates to show up on your live stream when Pia debuts her film.
Absolutely. We've got to make sure that Nico makes an appearance when you do your Q&A with us, and hopefully Nico will be in the next film. So you never know.
He's part of your future audiences for your film.
Yeah, does he have a SAG card yet? That's the question.
Well, not quite yet, since the industry has come to a standstill. But once it's safe, then we'll get him back out there and earn his college tuition. So.
Yeah. Mark says, "Hello, young one." And we're just getting so many comments in here. I just want to go back to Rose's comment and to ask Lucius, what do you think if this is true? We don't know, right? Nobody knows. Yeah. But if what does that mean for global culture, for Broadway to be dark for 8 or 9 months like that?
Well, Broadway is another way of storytelling. I think all the storytellers in the world have to diversify and start telling stories in our homes, in our smallest possible communities, which means essentially inside our quarantine spaces, and then sharing them through quarantine to quarantine across the world. I think Broadway is a place where people gather, just as in film festivals, they gather in spaces and spurts in time that are specific, but we're decentralizing that in the digital age. So people can see the same film over a week or two if it's streaming, and if they can share that and tell the story of the film in a way that would entice others to watch films of social value, we can get through this. I think we're not just escapist. I mean, every film is escapist because it's taking us somewhere else from the place we're living. But those places should be places of social value and places, situations of interest to people who are part of humanity. One
thing I wanted to ask Lucius also is this, this every day there's a headline that kind of would be so big. The news would be so big, but because there's so much going on, we barely pay attention. But I know in the arts world, they noticed when Hamilton, the film, was announced that it will launch in July, and that means that everybody's going to mark their date, and the sign-ups for Disney Plus are going to go through the roof. But the question is, how can a film that was going to come out in October of 2021 be ready by July of 2020? How is that even possible?
I don't know. What was the production? It's going into production. Hamilton is just now going into production, isn't it?
I thought it was launching. Sorry, maybe I got the news wrong. So there.
Oh, I didn't. I thought they were announcing the production, so that could be.
It's only the production.
A Russian film that was submitted to Cannes. It might have been at Cannes this week if it had been elected, but because it's not available, Cannes has been canceled. We are maybe going to submit to Venice in September, or maybe go to Berlin next February, because we'd like to share it with the biggest possible festival. That's the secret, that now that it's out of the bag. This is a film that is the way we launch films, to catch a big audience, which is a worldwide audience. Now, Broadway is a very specific time and place, and I'm not sure how many Broadway films are out into the world until they become films, but that's where we're going. We're waiting for the gestation.
I'm sorry to say I had it, or I'm glad to say I had it right. Hamilton movie will stream on July 3rd.
Okay.
So, but Jitin, that's really amazing, right? They're supposed to launch a year from now. How do you do all that post-production so quickly and launch it into the world? That's really smart of them to do. But how do they do that? I know you may not know the answer. Yeah.
And Sree, that's kind of the big debate right now. If you're getting the news out of Bollywood, I mean, everyone's talking about these big blockbuster films that are going directly to OTT platforms like Amazon and Netflix and Hotstar. And there's a big to-do within the entertainment industry from movie theaters who are saying that how can you bypass the theatrical screening and go directly to this OTT platform. And I think it's so interesting that Lucius brought up this idea of the film festivals and how these films are just going to keep applying to festivals further and further down. They want to actually make that impact, but what's going to happen at a Berlin when they have so many films to choose from because all of the previous festivals got canceled?
Yes, exactly. That's already happening. It's already happening. There's a product that's going to need a big logjam, and good films are out there, but that's something for us to face. As Roma was the first film last year, the Mexican film was the first film that was at festival and then streaming and then in theaters and Netflix at the same time. So we're looking at ways to combine all of the options. And still, I'm working on a film set in Inuit country. A northern Arctic community is approached by the Canadian government to leave the land and move into government housing in 1961. The filmmaker at the time was 3 years old, but it's a true story. Now, that film was at the Venice, the Biennale in Venice last year in a gallery installation, and then it went on to iTunes, and then it was shown theatrically in Toronto in September last year. So it's been going theatrical, iTunes, and then in multiple short runs in theaters. It's going to be opening up at Curzon Street in London on July 3rd, for instance. So we're working on all the combinations of the ways we show and share films.
Yeah, I think that's true. Meanwhile, there was like a cinema moment going on here where Pia is doing something with the door and your baby has left the scene, so you can tell us that I didn't know exactly what was happening in there. And Daryl says this is all archived forever on youtube.com/SreeNet. And so it's all and Vandana says, hello, Nico. He's so comfortable on camera. I was just listening to These Days in the morning, she says. And Jonathan says, welcome to StreamYard, Nico. And Rose says, great to see a baby. And Steve says, during the Philadelphia Parks Alliance Q&A with the Philly Parks and Rec Commissioner, her 4-year-old daughter climbed onto her lap and the audience loved it. So soon we'll see people staging this instead of it being sort of natural. People will stage it and make up stuff for that. Sierra said, he's cute as a button. Glad he made an appearance. Wow, he's taken away all the attention from all these adults in the room. What did they say? Never work with children and animals and pets. Daryl says basically they could have had they would have had to quadruple the post-production team to be able to launch Hamilton so quickly. Pia, the amount of work your film took, and just imagine a film of the scale of Hamilton.
Absolutely. We actually had tickets to go see Hamilton on June 13th here in LA, and so I was watching it because it was getting canceled, all throughout March, all of April, May, and then they announced last week that would be through June, and so they're going to refund all the tickets, but we actually had tickets to go see it on June 13th, so I'm excited that it will be. I've seen it before, but I wanted to take my husband for his birthday, but I'm glad that it will be on Disney Plus, and I think that's going to be a great thing for everyone around the world to be able to see that.
Folks, we're way over time already, but I know people have questions, and we also want to refocus our attention on onlinefest.us, and look for Escapist Cinema from South Asia. That's the title. It's 7 weeks of programming every Saturday night, East Coast time. That means it'll be early morning in India and South Asia, and in Europe, it'll be the middle of the night, but you'll also have in the West Coast, it'll be still in the afternoon. As Pia said, the natural light is still on over there, so you'll be able to see that. So please check that out. And Rose says, check out my grab the screen grab that she made, so we'll take a look at that before we go. And Twyla says, thank you and good night. Twyla is our unofficial timekeeper. She says, if you got to start a show on time and you got to end on time every time, and she's absolutely right about that. Arun says, are there any films from Nepal, and what is the South Asian aspect of this film, of the film festival, Jitin?
So we have films from Pakistan, we have films from Afghanistan. We were not able to curate a film from Nepal. Again, I think curating for an online festival is so different than curating for a live festival, because it is much harder to convince a filmmaker to showcase their film online versus being at a festival like Lucius mentioned. And so the pickings are slim, guys. And we've done the best we could, but I think you'll be very pleased with how we've put some of these films together, how we've curated the programs, and given you a diversity of shorts, documentaries, and features, all of which will help you escape and think of better things and better times and better days. So I hope you'll join us.
Thank you. I think that's a wonderful way to think about this. I'm going to have each of our guests give us some kind of final thoughts for now. And Lucius, if you can talk about where you think cinema is right now and how we get past this. We want filmmakers to succeed. We want them to do well. You use the word glut of content, but there seems to be from the outside, for the layman like me, that there's so much more. There's so much hunger from these big OTT platforms as they
Well, you see, I work with films like, for instance, when we mentioned Alfred Molina earlier, it was Chronicas, a film from Ecuador with Jean Leguizamo. And it was a wonderful film maybe 15 years ago, 20 years ago. I didn't even know where I can find that film on streaming, but I mentioned it tonight and I've got to find it because it's worth recommending. I think when we see films like Jitin's and others, and we see films like Pia's, the challenge for all of us is to become storytellers, so we can tell people to go and watch those films and share them, and then recommend that they tell us what they think and share back what they think of the films we recommend. This is the idea of actually extending those radio days when people came to the office or school the next morning, or television. Everyone used to see The Wonderful World of Disney on Sunday night and go to school and talk about the same few things that were on that show. That's a part of the social cohesion mechanism that we're now challenged with because we have so many thousands of different things. And most people I know spend 15 minutes on Netflix figuring out what is worth watching. And then the first 15 minutes, do you make the right decision, or maybe you should try something else? So until we come to a world where films and opportunities are curated like so many bookstores, I mean, the model that I use is you go into a bookstore and people say, oh, Jitin, I know that you like Franz Kafka. You should try this or read that, or this is a new book by someone you should know. So until we have that sense of how we curate and program films and how we as spectators share our experiences with others and consider that everyone is involved in the business of promoting films and promoting the idea of storytelling, we won't have a future. But we do have that, so we will have a future.
Oh, that's terrific, folks. Our guest has been Lucius Barre. He's lucius.barre@gmail.
No, it's simply Lucius Barre at Gmail, right?
Perfect. Lucius Barre at Gmail. You're the first in about 130 guests we've had in our 65 shows to give out their email address that directly. Good for you. I used to do that on New York City television, and people used to think I was crazy. But you do get crazy emails, but you get them anyway. We all know that. So good for you, Lucius. Thank you for being here. We really appreciate you, and I want you to come back and talk once you've. I think you're thinking about a grand unified theory of what happens to film. Once you have that, you come and talk to me about it.
Well, I'm inspired by you because I have to work in some sort of chat room or some sort of community basis, because I think the first lesson about selling, if you speak to salespeople, 95% of the people in the business of selling know that the first skill to cultivate is that of listening. So it's important to listen to a lot of people. It's important to talk to a lot of people and listen carefully to what they say. Lastly, just a comment. Dorothy Saul wrote a book about suffering. It was called Suffering. Every aid worker in the world knows that when you go into a city that's been bombed, when there's absolute devastation, the first thing to do is find someone who's lost everything, an old person sitting next to the side of the road and in despair that everything's been blown away. You sit beside them and wait for them to talk. You don't have to know anything about their culture or their language, but when they know there's someone listening, they can have that path that opens as a fork in the road toward letting go and dying or going on with life. So part of our world is listening to each other and just being beside each other as we go forward in that way.
Wow. Thank you, Lucius. That is a beautiful way for us to say goodbye to you in just a minute. But thank you very, very much for sharing that with us. I want to tell everybody we had a show last night that I'm still remembering. We did a show with the author Sapphire, whose novel Push became the Oscar-winning film Precious about a decade ago, and she was absolutely amazing. And this is what she got to talk about this yesterday, and she said, I have brought into the public gaze women who have been marginalized by sexual abuse, poverty, and their blackness. Through art, I have sought to center them in the world. And what Lucius just said about listening and storytelling is so important. Please go back. in and watch this conversation we did yesterday. You can find it on youtube.com/SreeNet. Please subscribe. She filled me with delight, with tears, with anger, where she said, you know, all this day, every day we hear wash your hands. There are Native American communities in this country that don't have running water. And you're talking about wash your hands. She was filled with righteous anger. And so was I at the end of it. And I salute her, and I want everyone to go back and watch it, youtube.com/SreeNet. Please watch. And next year, by the way, is the 25th anniversary of the launch of the movie, the novel Put that became the movie Precious. Well, let's go to our friend Pia Shah. Pia is on Twitter. She is Pia Pizza Zadora on Twitter, and she's Pia June Shah on IG. On Instagram, Pia June, June Shah. So Pia, your thoughts, and I know you're thinking of your baby right now.
Well, I would just say, you know, I think Lucius said it perfectly. Empathy, I think that is really all that we can really hold on to right now. Everybody is experiencing such subterranean change, and some of it we can't even begin to articulate. On a personal note, both my godparents actually passed away within 24 hours of each other a couple of weeks ago, and I know, you know, they were in New Jersey, and I know that there are many people who we have lost, and then there are those who are still here who have lost them. So when you think about the amount of people who have passed away, there are even more people that are left behind now grieving them. And I think as we move forward, we just try to have that human connection. And that's what we look for when we make art, when we make films, when we do theater, is to be together and to come together. And right now we try as hard as we can to just be there for each other and to check on each other. And also I would add, for our marginalized communities, the Asian American community that is getting backlash now in America and probably around the world, but especially, you know, in America, given our government and everything that's happening, people are emboldened to go after this innocent group of people that are as American as anything. As my brother likes to say, the racists are the one who are not American. They're American in name only, he likes to say. But we are a country built on immigration, and we cannot forget that, and we have to make sure that they are okay. So I have heard a lot of incidents of hatred towards Asian Americans, and I just want to show my solidarity as an Indian American with that community, and continue to have people of color bring their stories to life, because I think after this is over, we want to continue to show marginalized stories and center them as part of our experience. Because to us, you know, we are the central character in our lives. We're not the doctor or the lawyer or the best friend who never gets to show any kind of complex emotion. You know, we are the central people in our lives, and we deserve to be represented in cinema and in the arts. So I would say just keep making stuff and keep going.
Thank you. What great advice and great thoughts from Pia Shah. We just want to point out that we did a great conversation with Purna Jagannathan, who is one of the stars of the Netflix show Never Have I Ever, and this was a couple of Sundays ago. Again, you can go back and find it in my archive, youtube.com/SreeNet. And she talked about being able to be seen on TV and that it matters. And she talks, if you go back and watch that, she says a few years ago there were so many these female Indian American actresses vying for the one role with one line in a film, and many of them have gone on to do big things, but they're also supportive of each other. And I know, Pia, you're part of that community. So thank you for doing what you do every day, for being creative, and for supporting your sisters and your brothers as we try to make sure we're represented in Hollywood, which is not easy by any means. All right, and by the way, my deepest condolences that you lost your godmother and godfather. I just cannot imagine the pain, and may their memories be a blessing. Jitin, over to you.
I just want to end by saying that we're so lucky and privileged to be able to sit here on a Friday night and to be able to talk about the fact that tomorrow night we're all going to get online and watch a film together. So, I am very aware of the situation that we're in. I want to thank you, Sree, for having us. What you're doing is just inspirational. Thanks for telling our stories. Thanks for continuing to tell our stories. I've been following you for a decade now, and you have been a role model and a mentor for me through all these years. And what you have created here, this platform, is truly brilliant. It is award-worthy because I feel like you're giving a voice to so many people who have so much to say right now. And I really think that this will go down in history as something really brilliant that you've done. So thank you all. Thank you, Lucius. Thank you, Pia. I'm so honored to be connected to you, and I'm so honored that you're part of my small little venture. Again, this is a small thing that we're doing in the bigger frame of things, and it's dedicated to all the people out there who are working, who are at the hospitals, or who are our essential workers. They're the ones I'm thinking of. So thank you all again, and thank you, Sree, for having us.
Thank you. Thank you for your very kind words. Onlinefest.us. Go there. There's a quick question from Nitish. Which films are available for international audiences? All of them, right? If you can wake up, you can see this wherever you are, right?
Actually, that's not true. So one of the other issues that we ran into was the whole geo-blocking situation when it comes to online festivals. So there are certain films that are only available to US audiences, but a majority of our films are available to the entire globe. And if you go to onlinefest.us, at the very top, it tells you which program or block of programming is open to just the US or to the entire world. So it's very clear, where you'll be able to see these films. And if you're coming in from a certain area and you're blocked, you won't be able to register to begin with.
So that's good. So the money won't change hands unless they believe you can watch it. And let me just ask Lucius. So this is all part of the very complex web of rights and also some old-fashioned thinking on some parts of Hollywood that have resulted.
Well, right. That film I mentioned was in last year. The One Day in the Life of Noah Pugatuk is an Inuit film. They live so far north of New York as Las Vegas is west. That's how far north they are. Living on the land, the man comes and says, "You move to government housing, send the children to school so they can get jobs and earn money." And the old man says, "What are they going to do with money?" So it's that 1961 story when the filmmaker himself, which is 3 years old, that's now been in Venice in a gallery situation, and 3 days later it was on iTunes, and then in September it went to the Toronto Festival. But we have been able to, with a flick of a button on the iTunes program, we can open the territory to theatrical and close it again when the theatrical is over. So right now, even on iTunes, you can take any film that you post worldwide or by region or by territory and plug them or unplug them. I think, Jitin, one of the challenges is that no one wanted to unplug America because there are still many people watching films from the diaspora who are anchored in the Indian rights, but on Indian streaming channels are able to pay for them in whatever currency and watch them without going to his festival. So that's why there's certain films that are geo-blocked for certain festivals or opened exactly for those festivals where they can play in a different environment for a few days or more.
So that's good to know. So this is a decision that people are making. This is not always, some
No, it's the you look at films. That's why I mentioned Chronicas, this Ecuadorian film with Alfred Molina and John Leguizamo, because I remember it, a vibrant story, but I don't know where to find it now.
And this is a film you know all about. So imagine
from 20 years ago now, the challenge is to keep that film available so that people can go back and find it. Maybe some on one of the internet sites, there are films that are in a repository that you can have access to for free. I didn't know anything about those, by the way, but the bottom line, never heard of that, but it seems that it exists out there somewhere. But the bottom line is that there are lots of stories that are worth telling and repeating, and there are lots of stories that become iconic in the memories of people who've experienced them. And they could have experienced them at the festival and never seen again, or they were on Netflix for a while and they didn't renew their contract with Netflix, or they're off Netflix.
Yeah,
it's an opportunity. It's an opportunity. It's a challenge because the circulation of films right now is a case of what I wrote about in 1991, individuation. That each of us will have a completely different playlist and a completely different playlist of songs and movies and reading and experience. And what we should do is be able to share that in a selective way with our friends so that we can tell them how we're living in some people say is the model is the bouquet. It was, when I was a child, it was a melting pot, but now it's a bouquet. And this is where we are. We're going back in cycles as far as I can see.
Sure. Nitesh says, I'm from Patna in India. I'm very interested to watch this festival. So go to Online Fest. And even the pricing, $6, even internationally, is a very good price. Sonali says there are a lot of copyright issues and old-fashioned thinking in Bollywood and in Hollywood. And look at this. She's been tagging her friends, a friend in Nigeria, a friend in Hawaii, and she's telling them to check this out. And that's a great way to do it. And she also tagged a friend in Maldives. So when they wake up or whatever, they'll be able to join and watch the recording of this. So we're going to say goodbye to our three guests, Jitin, Hingorani, Pia Shah, and Lucius Barre. And I'm going to take them off screen because I have to say some goodbyes and also run an ad that you can see about doing those live streams if you'd like to do that. But the school, go to Livestream School with our friend Tim Sohn. After we do that, we had talked about the rest about our producer Vandana Menon and the rest of us gathering. So if our guests want to stick around, they can join us after and we can debrief. This is all out in the open and we can talk about it, but we will not be on camera at the time, at least not on public camera. Thank you very much, everybody. We'll see you soon. And thanks and good luck.
Thank you.
And very nice to all of you. So goodbye to Lucius, goodbye to Pia, and goodbye to Jitin. And what a great evening. Thank you so much. It's Friday night here in New York. I learned so much from these great folks. We got some great comments, including Rose was saying that Pia is an inspiration. How lovely is that? And I'm so glad that all of you were able to participate. Please send us feedback. Tell us what you liked. Tell us what you didn't like. We want to hear from you. My email is sree@sree.net. We'd love to hear from you and get your ideas on future shows. We're looking for guests. We're looking for speakers. We're looking for sponsors. We're looking for collaborators. There's no reason that we only work with scroll.in, which is this amazing news and culture website in India. We can work with others. So join us and let's do this. I'm committed to doing every show every day as long as we're in lockdown in New York. And now I want to thank our sponsors. The sponsors make these shows possible. So let's thank Tim Sohn of Sohn Social Media Solutions and thank him for Survive with Live Video Bootcamp. And he's gotten one of our members of our community to do a little video testimonial. Here we go.
Hi, my name is Steve Taylor, and I have had the pleasure of being part of Tim Sohn's first Survive with Live Video course. I had very high expectations for the course because I had taken a previous workshop with Tim on social media, and that was an excellent experience, and my high expectations have even been exceeded. I certainly knew that I'd be getting great tech tips, great guidance as to equipment and online tools and all the other processes and steps necessary to create live video. What I've also been very happy to learn is more of this process of thinking through, planning through a broadcast before you even go live, creating a show from scratch, looking at what one's market is and designing a show to be perfect for that market. I've had the opportunity since starting the show to work on several live shows, and the information, the connections that I've made in the live Survive with Live Video class and community have been invaluable in really helping me to refine my live streaming. I would highly recommend Survive with Live Video for anyone who's going to be doing any sort of live video broadcasting.
Oh, nice. Thank you. That's Steve Taylor, who's on my team. SohnSocialMediaSolutions.com, SOHN Social Media Solutions. Check them out. And thank you, Tim, for sponsoring the show. Anybody who wants an ad on our show, just let us know, sree@sree.net. We have a very inexpensive rate card. Multiple people have commented how inexpensive it is and how easy it is to become a sponsor here. You can see the rates right on our on the screen right now. So please contact me, Sree@sree.net. We'd love to have you join as a sponsor. You can take a screenshot or take a picture with your camera. So we're going to say goodbye to you. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your support. A reminder to please go to YouTube and hit subscribe so you can look at our archives and also see what we're doing, what's coming up. All of that stuff you will know if you go to youtube.com/Sreenet. And here's another way you can connect with me. This is my WhatsApp, not group, because you know lots of WhatsApp group are filled with racist uncles. This is not that group. This is an alert system. So you join WhatsApp, my WhatsApp alert, and every day when I'm live, you'll get a notification, And we have so many great archived work that you can see, but also lots of great things coming down the pike as well. So please join me. Please email me if you have any questions, suggestions, comments. We want to hear from you. We're going to have lots of great things coming up. Thank you. Thank you to Rose Horowitz, our producer, and to Vandana Menon, our other producer. 65 days, folks. I cannot believe we're here. Thank you to everybody in the world who has supported this. And take care of yourselves. Stay home, please. But if you're going out to work before you have to, thank you for going out to work and helping everybody in the world at this moment. And here, Jonathan says goodbye to Nico and can't wait to watch the film festival, says Jessica Mayberry, who is, as many folks know, with Video Volunteers, very important NGO in India. And the fact that she now is here, let's connect, Jessica, and let's talk as well. And Jonathan says, enjoyable show. Jonathan's watched for 65 straight days. Renee says, thank you. And Hidas says, goodbye. And my mom says, very nice program. Keep up the good work. Thank you, Mom, watching in Kerala. She's also sent me some great programming ideas. And so we're working on a show with the guest you suggested, Mom. And so we're very, very grateful. All right. Goodbye, everybody. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.